What is up, Jamily? This is JamiroFan 2000 here with yet another episode of JamiroFan Talks About, where I talk about the past, present, and future of the band JamiroQuai and their over 27 years of making music. And we got a very big piece of news this past week, rolling into, of course, Christmas 2018. JK went to his Instagram and, of course, put out his traditional Christmas message, thanking everybody in the Jamily who came out and supported them live, and, of course, their album, Automaton, over the last 2 years of an amazing, highly successful Automaton tour from between 2017 and 2018. And of course, we know JamiroQuai is extending that album tour, which I'm going to refer to as the Automaton 2 tour, into 2019, with so far 10 announced dates, ranging from starting in February in Dubai, in the Middle East, to a plethora of 9 more tour dates, of course, in Europe. But the biggest takeaway, of course, from that video on Instagram, as I previously talked about in a recent episode of the JamiroQuai Minute, is that JamiroQuai plans, and JK and the band plan on starting work on their 9th studio album sometime in late 2019 into 2020. Now, this is very, very exciting news, and many fans of JamiroQuai from both spectrums of the Jamily are very excited about the prospect of JamiroQuai going into a 9th album cycle. Now, some fans do count High Times as an album release. I don't count it as an album release. It's a compilation. But it's not the band could definitely have a lot of good album material left over from the Automaton album era, and they do have a lot of old material they could probably yield out and possibly repurpose into some new material. But this is very exciting news, so I thought I'd record a JamiroFan Talks About to basically speculate. And remember, this is all purely speculation. Nothing has been announced, except with the only exception being that video from JK from Instagram thanking everybody in the Jamily for having a Merry Christmas and for announcing a possible new album tour, or not album tour, a new possible album era starting sometime in late 2019 into 2020. This episode of JamiroFan Talks About, I thought I'd take a speculative look at when this new album or new said singles related to that could be coming out. Now, if you look at the Automaton era itself, back in 2016 into 2017, JK had to delay those album sessions mostly due to his family life. He had 2 daughters in the span of less than 4 years, and so he kind of delayed that album recording and composition period for at least 8 to 9 months, and then of course came back to it in late 2015 into 2016 and finally got those album sessions done, which would ultimately become the Automaton album. When could this new album be coming out? And JK did say it was an album. I originally thought they were going to be doing maybe a single for Christmas, or maybe just a short series of EPs, relieving the pressure on them having to go back into the studio and do an en masse recording of new material and writing of new material. But it looks like JamiroQuai is going to be going with an album model for 2019 into 2020. But JK did say in his video on Instagram that it's still all up here. He said that the new material for the new album is still all up here. It's not yet been recorded or possibly written. So that logic would dictate that means that this could be going into 2020. This album release would probably more conservatively be coming out in 2020 rather than out in the fall or the winter of 2019. But you know, JK is a very organic and a very melodic type of songwriter, so I'm sure with Matt Johnson there as his principal songwriting partner, and of course the band members contributing where they're needed, from Rob to Derek to Paul, they can come up with yet another great album of new material. But could they progress past this Futura funk that we have seen between 2001's A Funk Odyssey and of course 2017's Automaton? It's kind of up in the air, but there has been a consensus in the Jamily in discussions of future JamiroQuai albums going all the way back to A Funk Odyssey, that a lot of fans want them to go back to their acid jazz roots, going back to a bit of the Herbie Hancock, Kool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder kind of foreshadowish type of hindsight looking into back to their old sound. And another big part of that that if they were to return to that sound, another big major component that has been missing, but has only been seen periodically in the later JamiroQuai albums, musically, is the brass section. And I know a lot of the members of the Jami right now are like, yeah, he said the brass section. And I do completely agree that JamiroQuai needs to bring back a brass section, because the brass section was kind of another very awesome part of the early JamiroQuai, the mid catalog of JamiroQuai musical influence, and I do think they need to bring a brass section back. You know, bring Martin Short and the guys back to do some great brass sections. But not saying that what JamiroQuai had been doing musically has not been amazing. I do think doing a 50-50 balance between those two major componental sounds of JamiroQuai's sound development would be pretty awesome. And as for the release, I'm going to say the ninth JamiroQuai album is probably going to conservatively come out in maybe spring, summer 2020. And I'm giving them at least a year and a half window to get themselves done with the 2019 tour, to get back in the studio, to hash out ideas, to write lyrics, to bring in the instrumentation, and then work it all out. So that gives them at least a year and change to get this album together, get it recorded, get it mixed, which if it's shipped to the United States, again, like Automaton was, and had all their track list end up on copyright sites because it was being mixed in the United States, I'm sure I will definitely see this new material having been completed, reached a completion point, and sent to the United States to be properly mixed. So that's pretty much it for this episode of JamiroFan Talks About. Just wanted to record an episode to hash out, or speculatively hash out, when I think the ninth JamiroQuai album would be coming out. So sometime in 2020, at least conservatively speaking. Now, as for its first single, or whatever is released precursor to this album, I think JamiroQuai does have enough material in the vault or recorded that they could easily put a single out very, very early. And as for a time period for when this first single of this new album era could be coming out, I was safe to say this time next year. Probably around holiday time, 2019 into 2020, we will see a first single from the ninth JamiroQuai album potentially coming out. But that's just a lot of wishful thinking and giving them the benefit of the doubt that they can put together a first single and then just get the rest of the music completed and hashed out and properly promoted and ready to go. So to be mixed here, most likely they'll have this new album mixed in the United States, given that Mike Rakowski, who mixed JamiroQuai's Automaton, did an amazing job on that album, audibly speaking, that I don't think they would go away from not sending the finished album here to the United States again to be mixed. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this JamiroFan Talks About. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and be sure to like and subscribe this video, and be sure to hit the little bell icon on your YouTube page to make sure you're up to date on all the latest videos from the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel as we march into 2019, which is sure to be a very busy tour period for JamiroQuai. And of course, at the end of that year, there will be a busy time in the studio for JK and the boys at his home studio there at Hornsden Manor in the UK. So keep your eyes out for much more content coming out sporadically throughout 2019. And as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll see you again really soon with another JamiroFan Talks About, another JamiroQuai Minute, and more JamiroQuai related videos here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. Bye-bye, everybody, and I am recording this on the day before Christmas Eve, so I hope everybody in Jami have a great Christmas and an upcoming great New Year. So keep your eyes here on the channel for more videos, probably with a greater frequency as we enter into the new year of 2019. And as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye, everybody, and happy holidays.